Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All light.
Powered by Emery Allen. Here is your host, Ryan Lee.
All light. Welcome to the number one landscape lighting show in Omaha, Nebraska. We are definitely going worldwide today, folks. It's going to be a great show. If you're looking to start or grow, let's just call it an outdoor lighting company. You're definitely in the right place. We're going to be talking about Christmas lights. I hope you're excited. I know I am. We got the one, the only Mr. Mike Marlow coming to join us on the show today. So we're here to educate. We're here to motivate, but we just want you to dominate. So you guys ready? Let's do this. Super excited. Got a great show. Like I said, we got Mike Marlow coming on the show. Been in the Christmas light industry a long time. In fact, I was just reading his bio. I'm like, dang, he launched his first holiday lighting company in 1996. I think I was a sophomore in high school. So Mike's awesome. He is a constant contributor to the outdoor lighting industry, whether it's at expos or events or online, social media, all this stuff. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things. I mean, we've got tariffs. I know a lot of people are like, what's going to happen? They've already had prices raised. We're going to talk a little bit, but we're not going to talk the whole show about tariffs. We're going to talk about commercial selling. We're going to make a few different angles today's show. So if you want to grow your outdoor lighting business, make sure you stick around. Excited to have Mike on. Thank you guys so much for your support too. It's crazy because once I start asking for referrals, we start getting them, or reviews. I'll take the referrals too. But thank you for the reviews, guys. It means a ton. It's so freaking awesome. So thank you guys. If you're on Apple or Spotify and you want to give that 5-star review, there you go. Just go do it. And people are writing nice things. That's even nicer. So thank you guys so much. Hey, before we have Mike on, again, we got Mike Marlow coming on in just a few minutes. I want to share something. This last week was epic. I had the chance to hang out with the lighting legends. So some people don't know what the lighting legends are. So when I started Landscape Lighting Secrets about 5 years ago, it was just Landscape Lighting Secrets. And over time, we attracted different levels of people. Some people got more traction, advanced faster than others, further than others. Some people kind of stayed small. Some people didn't last. They only stayed in the program a year or whatever. But we've got now different levels. And so what we did was we created different levels in the program. So when you join Landscape Lighting Secrets, you start at Spark. Okay. And then after Spark, you graduate to Ignite. After Ignite, you graduate to Luminary. And after Luminary, you graduate to finally be that lighting legend. It's our top level. So Lighting Legends is a really just upper level group within Landscape Lighting Secrets. We meet in person 3 times a year to mastermind on our business. And masterminding is like, we're having discussions, like really vulnerable stuff. Usually there's some tears, not always, but we're talking about how to grow our businesses and not just surface level stuff. And it's not just about raising your prices, although the fundamentals come into all the conversations. We're talking about how to build a legacy. It's not just about lighting anymore. It's about building a legacy. And it's so cool to see these legends come together and do things that maybe they would have done on their own, but maybe not, probably not, and definitely not as fast. So we are seriously collapsing time with this group, and everyone's there to level up and get better and put their egos aside. And it's phenomenal. So the theme of this meetup was the first time we met in Utah, which I was super stoked because there's a first time for everything. And this was our first Lighting Legends meetup in Utah. Landscape Lighting Pro of Utah hosted. That's Keith Rosser's company. And it was awesome. Just a great few days masterminding and leveling up our businesses. The theme was called Turning Pro. Now, and it's really just going from amateur to professional. And you might think, well, if you know who's in it, like these guys are already pro. They're already doing millions per year and they run very good businesses. Well, if you ask them, they're amateurs, right? They're pushing their ego aside. And no, I want to go pro. It's not like I just want to make it into the NBA. Like you could make it in the NBA and just sit on the bench, or you could be a starter, or you could go be an all-star, or you could play in the Olympics. Like there's different levels to this game, right? And so these guys are really trying to go pro. And it was cool. I actually arranged this tour of this huge HVAC company in Utah. I don't know if it's the largest, but it probably is the largest in Utah. It's called Any Hour, and they do free tours, but they did a VIP Lighting Legends tour, which was really, really cool. And this company does over $500 million per year. $500 million per year, 110 million here in Utah. And what's crazy to think is that just like it was either 12 or 14 years. So I'll say 14 years, even though I think it might have been 12. Only 14 years ago, they were doing just $2 million per year. And they've been around since 1951. So imagine being around since 1951 and getting to $2 million in revenue after 40 years, 60 years or whatever, right? But then something happened. Someone decided to get intentional. Someone decided to get intentional about their growth. And that's when the magic started. And they went from 2 million to 6 million, 6 million to 12 million, 12 million to 36. Like there was literally years where they were doubling or tripling revenues. Okay. That's insane. But it didn't just happen like randomly after you wait 60 years and you just like something happens. Someone got intentional. And when they got intentional, the growth was rapid. I mean, huge revenue years, right? And now, again, just in Utah, they're doing over 110 million. They spend, when I asked about percentage of revenue on marketing, they said they spend 8% now. And that's because they already own the market share. Like that's their like coasting 8%, right? When there was years when they were in growth mode, it was much higher than that. So imagine spending 15, 20% of your revenue. A lot of people might be like, what? That's crazy. Like that's my money. Well, when you view it as an expense, it is crazy. But when you see it as an investment, see, they're willing to invest $800,000 of their $100 million into marketing because they have a lot of trucks that they need to keep on the road every day. They have like 350 trucks. They can't rely on word of mouth. Like once you build this machine, you got to keep feeding it, right? And they even did mention that, like, you know what, there was a time, there's season where those numbers can fluctuate. So that was the first thing that I took away from it. And yes, profit is king. Like all I ever talk about is profit. The show's called Lighting for Profits. Like most business owners are not making enough money. They're not profiting enough money. So they can't afford to pay themselves, pay their team members, over deliver for their clients. Like the number one reason businesses fail is because they run out of money, which means they don't have enough profit, right? But there is a time where it makes sense to invest some of those profits into your future growth, because bragging about how you made 20% doesn't do anything. Okay. What did you do with the 20%? That's really what matters. So it's okay if you have a year where, I would say, even if you had zero profit, but you were able to hire management, leadership, invest in marketing to fund the future growth, no problem with that. Now, if you have zero profit and that doesn't happen, that's called a nonprofit, and you should get out of business and just go do nonprofit activities. Go volunteer in South America or something. But here's what surprised me most, guys. We're touring this facility, which was actually a campus, multiple buildings. They're like taking over the city of Orem. Okay. If you guys ever want to do the tour, send me a message and I'll hook you up. But we went into this room. They had multiple training rooms. Some of them weren't being used that day. One we go into, there was 50 plus people in this room, and there was music and there was excitement and a really positive energy. This was their excavation department. Now, why would an HVAC company have an excavation department? Well, because they end up doing a lot of digging for their plumbing department. All right. And so they have a whole excavation team. I guess that's what happens when you do $500 million a year. You like keep starting divisions. So they have like 50 people in there. And here's what's crazy. This is wild. Every single department comes in and gets training. And they're there for, they say 90 minutes, but it's probably 2 hours when all is said and done. They come in not once a month, not once a year, once a week to do training. So imagine having 350 people at an average of 2 hours. That's 700 hours. And I don't know what their average pay is, but let's just say $30 an hour, which I think is low. I think they make more than that. But let's just say that. That's $21,000 per week that this company is investing into training. That's $1 million a year. Like, that's crazy. I was like, what? And the excitement was in this room, guys. They're doing basically 90 minutes to train, build company culture, reinforce the core values, and do like scorecard checkups. And it's not like these people dread it. I mean, most people, let's face it, aren't doing meetings. But if you are doing meetings, they're boring, right? Like they're just like, hey, guys, come on in. All right, let's get started. And we got a 5-star review from Deborah over here. And here's the thing. Here's all the things that are going wrong. Like, we need to do better here. We need to do better here. We need to do better here. Like, no one wants to come to those meetings. Those people are out looking for jobs after those meetings. No one in this room that we saw at any hour, those people are not looking for jobs. Like, I can tell you right now, they're not looking for jobs. They were excited to be there. They had So many cool things. They're like throwing darts at a dartboard to earn cash, and they get to throw more darts if they get a better scorecard. Like they have all these reasons to win. It's a culture of winning. And it's not core values that are just written on a wall. Like these are core values that they're living. They see every single week and they're living it. Right. I was just blown away. They're not just reading about core values in a manual on the first day. They literally were living them. And this company, these people, all their team members, they were not amateurs. They were professionals. They were pros all around. They understood the game in a way that most never will. And they acted like professionals. And it was obvious. I mean, and we went from like the marketing department to the CSRs to everything. These guys were pros. So I want to give you guys a challenge. And the challenge is to go pro on purpose. Okay. And you got to get intentional. This is where most people are letting life happen to them. They're letting their business run rampant and you're just trying to keep the wheels from falling off. You got to get intentional. You got to get ahead of it. You got to put the fire out before it even starts instead of being reactive and putting the fires out afterward. You got to get proactive, get intentional, and go from amateur to pro. And so this is how you do it. You start today. You pick one area of your business, one area where you feel like you've been operating as an amateur, and decide right now to go pro. So I came up with a few different examples. It could mean actually budgeting for marketing instead of, let's just see what comes in. Okay. Are you making data-driven decisions? Are you just winging it? That's what most do. And if you wing it, it doesn't work because you try marketing once. Guess what? I already know the end. Don't do it because it's just a waste of money. Okay. You don't just try marketing. You come up with a marketing strategy. Trying marketing once is amateur. Creating a strategy and building a predictable marketing machine, that's what a pro does. Another example could be creating a weekly training rhythm. I mean, how many of you are bringing in your teams, even if it's just one person, take time off work, like you're not producing revenue, come in 2 hours to not just do a boring meeting, but actually training and get them hyped up. Instead of talking about all the negative stuff, you're talking about the things that they need help with. And remember, your common sense is not everyone else's common sense. So while it's easy for you to say, well, yeah, you just do the thing. Well, they might need more training. They might need reinforcement. Because if they were so good at it and their common sense was your common sense, they'd probably own a business as well. Okay. So create a weekly training rhythm. Another one could be reviewing your core values with your staff, not just writing them on a wall. And again, there's different opportunities and examples where you can live the core values instead of just reading them on a wall. And then finally, tracking KPIs and holding scorecard check-ins. Okay, the pros, they don't wait for momentum. They go out and create it. So what's your move? I want to challenge you. What are you going to stop dabbling in? And what are you going to start dominating? Remember, amateurs, they wait for growth, and the pros, they plan for it. So take me up on this challenge. Please take me up on this challenge. Your future self will thank you. And just an incredible experience to go see something like that. It wasn't just inspirational. It was like taking notes, like, holy cow, I got to do this. I got to implement this. Really, really cool stuff. So is that the background music I meant to play? I can't remember. Hey, let's talk about standing out in the lighting game. If you are aiming to elevate your outdoor lighting installations, then Emery Allen Pro Series fixtures are your next go-to. Take the Ranger Pro, for instance, crafted from solid forged brass and designed with versatility in mind. Whether it's rooftop mounting with the EA shingle mount, affixed to a gutter with the gutter mount, or integrating into the landscape with a ground stake, this fixture adapts to your needs. Once you get one of these in your hands, you'll see what I'm talking about. Plus, with its IP68 rating, it's built to withstand the elements. Used in conjunction with the Emery Allen's other high-performance bulbs for a comprehensive installation, and you're delivering top-notch quality to your clients. Ready to make the switch? All you got to do is email Tom G at emeryallen.com to get started. Don't forget, they do offer that discounted contractor pricing. So just mention that you heard about them here on Lighting for Profits, and Tom will hook you up with the discounted contractor price. All you need to do is email Tom G at emeryallen.com. All right, guys, now the moment we've all been waiting for. I hope you guys are ready. And if you're here live, please feel free to join the discussion. We've got Mr. Mike Marlow coming on the show. And I did doing a little surprise here. Let's see if we can hear this. Oh, is that? That's some. Oh, we got a custom intro. Guys, if you don't know Mike Marlow, you're about to. And I want you, wherever you're at, unless you're driving, to get on your feet for the one, the only Christmas Light Man of the Year, Mike Marlow. Welcome. What's up, Mr. Mike Marlow?
What is up? I always love your intros, Ryan. Thank you very much. It's made me blush. I'm not that guy.
I was, I had a few extra minutes and I was like, I need to find like a Christmas light intro.
Yeah,
and
I love it.
I came across that one. So yeah, thanks for coming here. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, like I said, it's always a pleasure to come on. So I appreciate the invite.
Well, I'm excited, man. What's up, Greg Matthews? He was part of the tour at the Any Hour and seeing all that stuff. What's up, Bear? Thanks for being here.
Hey, Bear. What's up, big guy?
And we got, Rubino Landscape. What's up, Joe Rubino? I know. He just mentioned we got a couple shows left until our 200. This is 198, Mike. This is episode 198.
I wonder what episode was I at back in the first time I was on?
It was early on. I don't know. Yeah.
Be interesting.
No. It's kind of crazy to think we're 200 shows in. It's just goes to show you, like, when you just put your head down and like, because I don't have like a goal, like, oh, let's get to 200 and then it's over. It's just like, I'm on a mission here and there's a message I want to be heard and I want other people's voices heard and we're not done yet. So maybe we'll go to 201.
A lot of good content. If you think about that over the years, a lot of good content out there to help people. So, which is good.
It's been fun. I feel like we've had a lot of different personalities and a lot of different messages and all that stuff. So appreciate you being part of the journey as well.
Yeah, no, I remember right when you were getting going when we first met. So that's awesome.
I know. Well, I look back, I'm like, dude, I didn't know anyone. Like you've been in this game a long time. And we were kind of reminiscing before the show. I met you without knowing that you were Mike Marlow.
Yeah. I
went to like a holiday lighting training in Texas, Keller, Texas. And then fast forward like 10 years later, I meet you. I'm like, wait, you were that guy. Yeah. Like that, you were that guy.
Yeah, well, back then, and it's just like still now, as we were talking about, we still both don't go think that we're the guy. We just keep on trying. I think that's the beauty of being a business owner or going out and about it is like you're never satisfied.
Yep.
And just gotta keep on trying because there's you can put a goal out there. It doesn't mean anything because you hit it. There's always gonna be another one past it.
Well, I feel like you've been pretty resilient. You've had a lot of opportunities come to you. Some have worked out, some haven't.
Yep.
Some have been intentional, some haven't. And right before you came and supported us at Light It Up Expo, which I'm extremely grateful for. That was the first time we were doing that. And, I hope that people support us, but not everybody does, Yeah. And you were willing, you said, heck yeah, I want to be there. I want to be a part of it. But it was also in a period of transition where Lights for Christmas it was like, you were like, I got to tell you something, but I can't tell you.
Yeah, it was like a secret, but I had to kind of keep it behind the wrapped doors until and it was a year process. It wasn't one thing that was intentional to see something that I started up with a group with Lights for Christmas. I didn't want to see it like go away, but I think it's still, there was a home for it. And that's where some of those conversations turn into us joining the Wintergreen family and part of their brands that they're doing. And I can tell you I didn't know about it. I was nervous going through this process. I was a lot of anxiety, a lot of unknown. And, because when you start thinking about it as a business owner or just things like that, you're trying to take care of the employees that work for you, as well as, what are you going to do with all this stuff that you have here in stock? And the folks over Wintergreen saw the value after I started explaining, what we've done in a short period of time. And they were really pleased and very surprised at how far we've gone with the limited resources that we did have. And
let's talk about that a little bit because, I knew you for being with Lights for Christmas, and then all of a sudden now you got Wintergreen on and repping their brand and stuff like that. I think there's, like you said, a lot to think through, not only your team members, but your clients and everything else and how that's going to affect relationships. what does that look like now? Like, does Lights for Christmas still exist in conjunction with Wintergreen, and kind of what is that? What are
Yeah,
those?
it's a good question. We're still going through some of that, kind of that transitional what it is, but it is going to be a brand within the Wintergreen Corporation umbrella, and that brand, we're directing towards maybe doing. Well, actually, we already started a lot of training resources for folks that want to kind of learn a little bit more or how to scale their business, but then do some added values. Like I'm all big about added values. Anybody wants to be in the business, and we're trying to do our best to kind of make sure that we are a resource that's in the space, and it can be a reliable resource to kind of go from. There's already a lot of people out there doing trainings. There's a lot of people that have those programs. I'm just taking my 30 years experience from, like you said earlier, I failed miserably back in 1996 and 97. So, but somehow I stuck in this business, and the curse still stayed with me. So now I'm 800 years. If we think about dog years, I kind of figured I'm aged pretty well.
I think Christmas lighting, that's a good thing. Christmas lighting really is dog years.
It is for those that haven't been in the business, or if you had a taste of the business, first of all, it is a curse because you look at buildings and trees a whole different way anymore. And then you go into the chaotic, I need to, get all these jobs done. You got like 12 hours, and because there's not enough time. Time is the measurable that you can't get back.
Yeah, that's tough. So, and then what happened with Blingle? Are you still with Blingle? What's the relationship there?
No, I am. So Blingle, when we took my local business, me and my partner Taylor, we got approached to, kind of sell off our rights, or at least use our business model to be able to open up the franchise model for Blingle. In the beginning, I helped get them started. They have a whole franchise team that's running that, very, very skilled. And I'm kind of like the poster boy, because you'll see me on the ads and you'll see me on their website. But also I am a franchise owner, so we changed our model to be a franchise owner for Omaha and Lincoln. Learned a lot about that process from where we were at that current stage. We've doubled our business in the lighting game, with landscape lighting and permanent lighting and holiday lighting mixed in.
Nice.
And then as that goes on, I become more of that, just like I am for a lot of folks that listen to you, as a resource to help their business, as a business coach, as a trainer. And that's kind of part of my forte of why I'm around or what I do. If you think about it, it's like you have to kind of pay it forward, because back then, I remember when I failed, I didn't have anybody to call on then. And they were still people I did talk to were still trying to figure it out themselves. There wasn't this scalable model that you see since, I'd say, 2005, 2008, and built off from that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with social media, and it used to be that you had to go to an event to get any type of connection and networking. Now we're human, so we still like to do that, but like you could send someone a DM and get a hold of almost anybody. Facebook groups, all that stuff. It's also accelerated the learning, but it's also accelerated kind of the advancement of these industries. Where do you think the Christmas lighting industry is right now? I still see a lot of people coming in. There's still people that didn't know what Christmas lights was. It was in a business. And then on the other side of it, you got these veterans that have been doing it for 30, 40 years. Where do you see it?
I always kind of look at this industry as kind of like a seesaw. There's always people going to get off and always people going to get on, and it's both sides. It's kind of leveling out. I think the demand is always going to be there no matter what. And we're creatures of nature of, especially in America, we want to buy stuff that we don't need. You look at Best Buy and all these other places, we don't need this stuff, but we do enjoy it, and we do puts a smile on our face, and we love to see it, and that's the beauty of making us feel good. And I always kind of look at that as the Christmas spirit, or the holiday spirit, in that time frame. When you start thinking about the companies coming in, I'm a big advocate. I think you need to have some kind of training or some kind of baseline, because the one thing that I've seen over the years is just the pricing fluctuation all over the place in different regions. Some regions can get more, and then some areas have just been decimated because everybody doesn't know what they're doing, and they're just doing it for a low dollar amount, and they should be asking for a lot more money, because it is it is a grind to, if you want to scale to 200, 300, 400 clients, you have to have a good business model, and you can't be thinking that you're going to do it at the low end, chase to the bottom pricing, because
Yeah.
that's not going to work.
Well, you're speaking to the choir here, man.
I figured I'd hit a chord there. So
Don't get me going. Come on, I'm trying to stay focused here and not talk about pricing. What do you think the permanent lighting industry is doing to the Christmas light or the holiday lighting industry?
I think it definitely gives those lighting companies another revenue stream in the off season. I see a lot. I know we do it here for our current business in Omaha and Lincoln, and we do quite a bit. Do I see that it's ruining or takes away from the Christmas traditional retrofit look type thing? I don't think it does. I think what you're going to find is a lot of the homes that want the permanent lighting on it are really the homes that probably wouldn't be paying year over year. They would do it for a couple of years and then they would get out of the Christmas side, or because I just think that that's just my take. I do worry.
So a little bit lower home value.
Yeah, a little. I mean, I see that a lot, especially in our market. That we're starting to. You're not going to get into your $1 million homes and think you're going to throw it on there, because there's too much architecture on those homes to throw permanent lighting on. I start seeing it more into your 350 to 600 range, more the right before the big custom homes side of it, and that's just my opinion. I know we've done a lot. I feel like it's great for commercial. The commercial projects that we have done have been 1,000 feet or more on hospitals and car dealerships and furniture stores. So those are things that I think it would be more suited for that product sometimes in the residential.
So are you guys seeing that, like, when these companies are adopting more permanent, are they abandoning Christmas lighting? Are their sales dropping? Are
I
they
sure
just
hope not. I think that would be a worse mistake, because when you think about the stackables that you can get out of the Christmas lighting business, and I call stackables is like 50 homes, you're only going to lose 10%. The next year you're going to add another 50 or 100, and eventually you'll get to that 200 to 300 as you stack them. That's fourth quarter bank money business coming in, service business coming in, and then you just got to scale to that to make it done. You could use subs, you can buy more trailers, trucks, bring temps in. There's a lot of ways to scale properly.
Well, and I think when permanent first came out, everyone's like, "Oh crap, I'm not bringing that up because then I'm not going to have a business." But roof lines are just a portion of Christmas lighting.
Christmas. I mean, I still think you're recurring on the foliage, the wreaths and garlands. There's a lot of decorating groups out there that don't do permanent lighting, that don't even sell foliage. They just want to do many lights and roof lines. That's it.
Yeah,
I'm good for that, but I think that every house could be they could be doubling their ticket on every job if they just learn how to sell it.
you had some product in your hand. You had that.
Oh, I'm a habit of putting something when I talk. Oh, so here's a fun fact. I'll share something with you. I just learned this a couple weeks ago, and I really didn't think about it until. So this is if everybody can see this is a slide plug. I'm talking a slide plug that you start off a C9 roof line baseline on the SPT2 or SPT1 core. It doesn't matter. So this was invented back in 1950. The patent in 1950 was approved in 1950. It expired in 1972. The reason why I brought this up is because I was asking, because of the tariffs, why aren't these being made in the United States? And then it turned out that they were by Gilbert Manufacturing. So that's why back in the day, everybody that would say, "Oh, you want a Gilbert plug? You want a Gilbert plug?" Everybody used this as the tissue, or the Kleenex of the tissues, if you want to call it by a name. But if I think about that, somebody in 1950, smart individual, because they did the patent on a couple other things in the retrofit sockets and all that stuff. That was in 1950. So then I started thinking about, well, what happened back in 1950? All those GIs are coming back from World War II. Everybody started the suburban world was starting to build. And then that became more of all this Christmas and the feel good of what we wanted to be as a country. And that's why they say it's the generation of men and all that kind of stuff. But think about I would say billions of feet that have been decorated on homes because of one plug that was made in 1950, 75 years ago.
That's actually wild. Yeah.
So that's what blows my mind, because if you don't have this, you don't have a holiday lighting industry. Nobody thinks about going and put roof lines up, and that's what I think about is like you we don't talk about where. I mean, these are all fun facts. Not saying that you're going to use it in a sales pitch, but I might. I don't know if I'm pretty energetic. Somebody wants to know, like, did you ever know about this? You can.
That's awesome.
So a
Yeah.
little fun fact for everybody who's listening: slide plug 1950.
It is kind of cool to think back. I mean, it doesn't really matter what we're talking about. Like someone was inspired, like someone started it, someone created something that then like changed industries, changed thought processes, whatever it is. Like that's pretty killer.
So what's being created now, and then 75 years from now, what's that going to be like? I mean, hopefully we're going to have drones put those roof lights up, and everybody just hires a drone to do it.
AI is taking over. We might not even be alive for the 200th episode. Yeah. We got 2 weeks left, guys. I don't even know if I'll be around for 200 episodes. Probably my AI. That's crazy. Well, okay. I want to talk to you. I do want to get to tariffs because I think a lot of people are probably a little concerned and trying to figure out how this is going to go.
Yeah, we all watch the news. We all understand. We talk to our suppliers. What's going on? One thing about it, it's like you got the main hub of China, and you're going to deal with tariffs. One thing to forget about that some people are like, oh, more tariffs. Well, a lot of this stuff was already tariffed before. Now, some of it wasn't tariffed, like foliage and Christmas trees weren't tariffed. Now it's tariffed, right? And it's coming in a lot higher than 25% on sometimes because of the way the codes are. You look at wire to core, there's ways that you can kind of get an HTTS code to get it into the country that you might have a very low tariff. Those are all being cracked down in the ports now, because there's a lot of shadiness that goes on and trying to get stuff. And so they're doing a lot more crackdown as well.
Yeah, I think, aren't there? I mean, I'm sure people are changing forms and saying, oh, this wasn't $1 million. It was $10,000 worth of it.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of that stuff. So I think when we start thinking about the day and age as being a business owner that has to buy product that's reliable on something outside of our country, we're going to be hit with an extra fee. I think the big part is just make sure everybody needs to review their pricing and make sure that they're going off landed pricing before they start doing their markups and everything, and just update your records before it's too late.
So now, when the tariffs went from whatever they were to 1,000,000%, whatever, did the manufacturers and importers, did you guys stop? Did you not order anything, or did you like?
It was some of that stuff was in production. One thing is that the folks at Wintergreen, they said they will never. What was told to me and was like they'll never like cancel an order on a factory. Because like what happened is, so then because we didn't know when the end was going to happen or if there was ever going to be. I don't think it's ever going to be ending. That they would find in warehouse space in China, or the factories would have to be able to have space to be able to store it, which a lot of factories don't have that space because they want to get it in and
it's just business as usual, except these containers are going to be 175% or whatever.
Yeah. And so then
now that it's dropped.
So there's a lot of things that happen. So there's some things that have been put on hold. There was, at times big companies had 80 containers just sitting there waiting to go. Because before, when it was the first run of this tariffs for this year, it was about you had to have it leave China in a certain date. Then when the last one that came around, it had to be through the port at that time or arrive at the port to make sure that it avoid that tax rate. When the tariff side of it, I think when the big part is that it's now you're going to start seeing an influx of everybody rushing to get their containers on the water. And now your shipping costs have already gone up $3,000 to $6,000 a container, and I'm sure that's not going to be done because that's the one thing that I don't think is regulated enough.
Because like right now, when you have to, in order to get things by September, when do you have to get things on the water?
The next 2 weeks. No, September is out of the water now. I think you got to look at October.
Really?
So, yeah, you're looking at October. You might be able to get some, depends on what port you send it in, you might be able to get better. But I mean, granted, if you think about it, it has to get booked. And and every container that gets booked, there's always, they overbook it. Just kind of like airlines sometimes, right? And so then you just got to make sure you get on a boat, and that's usually about 18 to 20 days just to get to a port.
So the tariffs come down, shipping costs are going to go up because now everyone wants to ship. So to the end user, to the contractor, what do we expect? Do we expect these
I would say, like, if you think
prices?
about a bulb price, like a C9 bulb, or let's say a plug here, typically you might see it at a wholesale 60, 75 cents, give or take. I'm just doing a range here. You're probably going to find yourself another 15 cents to 20 cents more in buying this at the bottom end. And that's just an example. Don't hold me to the numbers, but that gives you where you see perspective. Because there is a lot of the extra costs of just doing the business from a supply standpoint. How do we get it to where it needs to go? If you get on a program that did free shipping, so those are all being calculated when you do pricing.
If someone places an order with you right now,
Mm-hmm.
a pre-order, whatever, are they guaranteed that price?
Yes. Yeah. We honor our pricing. So whenever all the pre-orders that we did early this year, we honored it. So and we only, during that process, we raised the price like March 15th or something like that, just to kind of bear a little bit more from our wholesale price. But we didn't go back and add, 25% tariffs on top of our pre-orders.
And I guess I want to clarify, when I say pre-order, like that's exchanging money. Like I'm paying you, not just saying I want that product.
They're doing a down payment and signing an invoice. It's more of a skin in the game, if we could want to call it that.
Yeah.
Now we'll deliver it later this third, fourth quarter, unless they want it earlier, and then we have it. So,
well, I just think it's important to bring up because the landscape lighting industry hasn't been impacted at the same level of Christmas lighting. It's still being impacted, but it's a little bit different. But we had a member of our program who like pre-sold this thing, but they didn't order materials because they didn't know that tariffs were going to be a thing. And then all of a sudden, the pool's being built. Like there's a lot of reasons why the product just doesn't happen right away, the project. But then they go to order it and it's like, oh no, it's, higher.
Yeah.
Well, like now they're like, shit, I should have just bought all the stuff. And it's like, true, you should have, but they didn't get a deposit from the client and all that stuff. So it's just a new world we live in where, like, if you do sell a job, you have a client, like it's important to get the deposit. It's important to order the materials, like pay for them. And yes, you've got to have the ability to, in your case, you guys still have the material, but at least they know they're locked in. And
they're locked in. It's like securing product. And I think that's one lesson as you grow your business, especially if you're just doing holiday and this is all you do other than other things. You have to, like you said earlier about the company you and your legends went and visit, it's about reinvesting. You can reinvest into marketing, but you can reinvest into product and inventory, because if you take the ability of marketing, that you will have more jobs, and you know that you can buy it at a certain lower cost and secure that product. Now you're not waiting for schedule for stuff to come in, and you can streamline your business a little bit more by doing that. And nowadays, with everybody doing leasing, they're building their inventory empire, if you want to call it that. So then all you got to do is just make sure they rotate some of the older products out and go through that in the off season.
What do you teach people, leasing or selling?
I've done both personally. Leasing is what we currently do right now. It's usually, I teach it both ways, because I want that the business owner or the manager, whoever's making that decision, I want them to make that decision. I don't want to tell them how to do it. So I give them both models. I show them the benefits between both models, the pros and cons of each one.
But right now, you guys are in your own business. You're doing leasing.
Yeah, we're doing leasing. We got over $1 million of inventory in our empire, and we rotate through and we'll get it all out every fourth quarter.
All right. The show's all about profits, lighting for profits. What's the key to maintaining high profit margins in a competitive industry like holiday lighting?
You got to be really good on your service side. I think where you can start losing money is your labor. You have to understand a good system when your team gets to a job and what they need to do and get on to the next job, scheduling those jobs close enough so you're not doing a lot of windshield time. Buying product is I don't look at a 5 cents or 10 cents. I'm not going to worry about something like that. It's just more because I know my numbers, and we usually go through the numbers of what our storage is, what miscellaneous cords are going to be, and we build that into every lease price. And we have markup. We put our labor into it. We found that because of our growth of a company, we had to start charging more per man hour in our estimates because of our overhead and because of our just to keep our margins and I'd call it the Mendoza line of operations as a company. So you got to factor that in. And that's where I start seeing a lot of companies that want to grow. They grew, but then they look back and go, I don't really have a lot of nest egg to go and buy another trailer, or how do I reinvest this? It's because their pricing is off, and their pricing is off or their operations are off, one of the two.
A lot of people are hesitant to raise their price per man hour because they think, well, I'm already the highest guy, or it's just there's so many other people and there's someone willing to do it for half my price. How do you maintain the value proposition as you raise your price?
Well, I think it comes down to using a good CRM system that has communication, high communication as a customer focus. Part of that customer focus has to be, when you get a bid, what your follow-up sales funnel process is going to be. Because if we're going to be going and say a $10,000 project or even 20,000, you need to treat it like it's a $100,000 project, no matter what, because that company is emotionally buying. Especially if it's a residential, they're emotionally engaged in wanting this done right. Even when you get into business transactions, it's still, you have to communicate and you need to be in front of them, because it's like you're building your own nest egg of friends and clients to go through. But yeah, I think bottom line, I think is if you can come out and be very communicative, you can actually then raise your pricing, because your services will grow because of experience.
That's good stuff, man. I like the treat everything like $100,000 project, because let's face it, we get a small project, we're like,
yeah, I know.
They can wait a couple days, like I'll get back to them later, whatever. But if you truly treated everyone like they were giving you $100,000, life would not be that hard.
And I bet you everybody remember you because you treated them better than anybody else.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man.
Yeah. Because
let's talk about go ahead.
No, I just believe in that. I think that's good karma will come around, and you guys, it's all in our world. We have to make friends, and especially if you're on the front side selling your company and your services. And if you're not good at it, hire somebody that is. Don't think that you're going to be the guy because you write the checks. Hire somebody that can be better.
Well, you know what's interesting about that? I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs are natural sales people, I would say. Some of them are better than others, clearly, but that's typically the last role that we give up. We give up installation or phones or whatever. But that being said, there is a thing, like, I remember when I sold my first $10,000 job, I was like, holy shit, I'd show the $5,000 deposit check to Lindsay, like, someone believed in me. This is crazy.
Yeah.
We don't even have a logo, like crazy stuff. And then you don't have, like, probably my first 100 of those. I mean, it was exciting for a long time, but after like the honeymoon phase, you're like, it's just $10,000. Like, it's not that big of a deal. So when you do bring in someone who's a new sales guy, like, they have a different excitement level, because that's what they get excited about. We lose power and energy and momentum because we still have to run a business. Yeah. We still have to put up with the headaches and the fires and all this other stuff.
Well, isn't the cliche is like, are you in your business, or you're working on your business, or are you in the business? Like I always kind of say, are you in the trenches, or are you looking down in the trenches? And the trenches can be very overwhelming for anybody, because there's so much to know.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys, the sooner we can get out of our own way, replace ourselves in our business, the valuation goes through the roof. And not everyone wants to sell their business right now, but it doesn't matter. Like, your client experience is going to be better. Your employees, like your team members, are going to be happier. Like, everything gets better when we get rid of ourselves. Hashtag AI.
I mean, essentially, obviously I've always done the wholesale game, but, I like the startup side of the business, but then after a while, like you said, the honeymoon's over. Then I was like, all right, well, we'll have somebody else run this,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about commercial projects.
Yeah.
This is something where you're
very passionate
good at. You're a pro. And we talk about amateurs, professionals. This is something that like I'm taking notes on every time I talk to you because I never figured it out. Like I can give you the blueprint all day long for high-end residential, charging premium prices, twice what your competition's charging, give you all that stuff. But commercial projects for me were frustrating and I gave up. And I do have some regret because I'm like, dang, dude, I see other people that didn't give up and they know how to do RFPs and they know how to do this and they know how to do that. And they're landing $500,000 projects. And like, I just never did. So can we talk about like how, like what holds people back and how to get started in the commercial game?
Yeah, and this goes back to from my experience back in the day when I first started. I looked at it like I want to play. I knew I was good and I was high passion about the holiday lighting, and I knew I can come in and explain what I want to do to people or like their businesses and stuff. So I remember walking into this bank, cold call, straight up cold, didn't have a lead, didn't know whatever. I was like, I'm just going to ask for the branch manager or president. I walked in. It happened to be the branch the president worked at. And I can't make this stuff up. I got lucky or whatever. And I sat down with him. I had like a little cheesy ass flyer. You know, this is way back when you don't know what we were doing. It's like crayon. But I just told him about what I can do. And I said, this is a service that I can provide. And he's like, all right, give me a quote on this building and 2 other buildings. And then I closed the deal a couple of days later with him after I gave him this pricing. But one thing I learned a long time ago doing sales is that if you don't get out of your car and go talk to somebody, you're never going to do it. It's not going to come to you. You got to go get it. And if you want that business, that's kind of my model is that if you want the business, you have to go after it. Now you can go do networking events and get some leads that way and stuff. But I still think some of the old school 80s and 70s out of the phone book just start walking down the path of a business and just start knocking down. I mean, I used to sell copiers and faxes, and that was the worst job I've ever had. It's like selling insurance or something. But I have to go to small
insurance.
towns.
You actually make money, I think.
Yeah, so. selling copiers, no, you don't do that, and it's kind of like where salespeople go there to die. So, so I got out of there fast. But I just remember having to go to these small towns and just knock on every business and see if they needed something, and then keep track of. And everybody was in 3-year contracts, and it's like I don't want to be in this business for 3 years. I don't really like what I'm doing, so I had to find something else. But it did teach me a lesson of not being afraid to open a door and having a conversation.
I love it. Well, I used to think when I started my business, and even up until like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, I used to have a plan B. And my plan B was like, well, I'll just go knock doors and clean windows.
Yeah.
Like, and I got rid of plan B because I'm like, well, if you have plan B, then plan A can fail. Like now I'm like, no, there's plan A and there's plan A. Like this is going to work. But I can appreciate when people have plan B because I used to have one. And I'm just telling you, like, there's so much success out there that's waiting for that hungry person that's willing to knock on the doors, willing to get rejected by potentially 99 out of 100 people to get that one $20,000 deal. And it's like most people don't have that grit. They're not willing to do it.
No, and I think and I always say this in part of my trainings is that look, there's a lot of opening doors nowadays than there were back in the day. You can make kick-ass videos and speed videos, whatever. You can do a lot of things that way and get it out there. I still think that there's a lot of, when it comes down to commercial, you got to be in front of the right people, and that's presenting in front of a chamber, presenting to different associations, maybe apartment association, to bar and restaurant association. But you got to find an avenue to be able to express that. And I always kind of say, if you're going to be in the lighting game, no matter what you do in lighting, then be the best you can be and be an ambassador of lighting.
Nice. So get out of your car, go talk to somebody, present to chambers. Where else could you drum up some leads?
So the chambers is one thing. You can even just make a bunch of calls into property management groups. That's another one. HOA listings. If your city or region has a listing online, that's like we're kind of blessed. City of Omaha had like a 300-page PDF of all the HOAs that are listed with all the presidents, VPs, treasurer, whoever's on the board, and all you got to do is just contact them. And then we just did a mailer out down, and then we started getting jobs, and we did that for years, to kind of get our name out there.
What's the messaging? We want to give you a quote.
It just comes down to like, hey, you just got to show a good couple lifestyle shots. It says you basically say, hey, we're here as a holiday lighting service, and just do a couple of blurbs out there about what you do as your service, and then taking on new, and just I think it's key taking on new clients, because I always kind of looked at businesses as like, if you think about like when we started, I still treated my company like we were doing $1 million. I wanted everybody to think that we were so busy that it was like, because you got to create urgency, especially if you're talking to somebody in May and April. You got to take that urgency. Like, look, I said, I might have some time. I said, let me look at my schedule. But that sometimes your marketing and your messaging to the client says, hey, we really got to get this in. I got to get the product ordered, and then we got to be ready to go by September. So those are just small little, they don't go much, but it's like just a little bit of blurb to kind of create that urgency. And I think the big thing is just get a good flyer, get a good handout, something that they can use, and they'll remember you by.
I like it. Well, there's huge different in tone and conversation of like, we're desperate.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need this? Or listen, we're in high demand. You're completely elevating your status to this point of like, I'm not even sure if we can get to you. Yeah. So that they're like, well, no, I'm sure we can decide by Monday. If we decide by Monday, Mike, does that give you enough time? Like,
it works. I mean, because it's if no one likes to be told no, but you're still giving out the quality professional service. You're just communicating with a different way, so then you can get that sales close ratio a little bit closer, rather than waiting months before it to happen, or a year.
Yeah. When my well, I don't know if it was my first sales job, but my first sales job out of college, it was software sales, and they told us, they go, you need to cold call 100 people a day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, you're probably going to get a hold of 20, and you'll probably talk to 5 people, and you'll close one deal. Well, I was like, okay. Like I was so ignorant, I didn't know anything else, so I just did 100, and some days I did 120, and some days I did 80 because I got a hold of more people and I had more presentations. My goal was 100, and I became the top rep, and I wasn't any smarter than these people. Like there was people that were smoother than me, and they sounded better, and they were whatever, but like they would put in 20 calls a day, and they were just jacking around and like doing whatever, taking long lunches. And like, it truly is, sales is always a numbers game. And even if you suck at sales, you just need to get in front of more people. You know what I mean? Like you're still going to close somebody's going to like you. Even if you're ugly, they're still going to buy from you because you're ugly. So you just have to reach out to 300 people to get your one sell. It's always a numbers game.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, I remember I did some inside sales like that before too. And it was 60, 80 calls, but they tracked you by talk time, and then that was a matrix. And, all you got to do is just follow the model, and then the results will show. It will.
Everyone's so worried about the output. Like, well, I need to make 10,000. I need to make 100,000, whatever. And that's just the wrong thing to focus on. The input is what matters. If you're contacting so many people per hour, per day, per week, per year, the success is going to follow. They're just worried about the wrong variable here.
Yeah. And I think, and that goes back into like, if you're doing sales, I think in our day and age, there's a lot of good books to read. There's a lot of good things you can listen on podcasts, whatever. You still should be honing in your messaging, because one little word can change somebody calling you and not calling you. A different voicemail or different tone, a different approach can change a lot of those things.
Big time. So let's say we get in front of someone, they're like, yeah, we'd love it. And they say the scary 3 letters. This used to be so scary to me, Mike. They're like, yeah, just we'll send you an RFP, and we'll go from there. And I'm like, RFP?
This guy says, well, do you need help with RFP? I can help you put some specs in there to make it work better, so that you get the right product for the project.
You help them put together the RFP.
Yeah. Love it.
That's huge.
I mean, it kind of puts you a little more favoritism. I mean, we won one of our largest contract. I mean, we're talking $250,000 or more, and it was a mandatory meeting. Guess who showed up? We did. Nobody else did.
Wow.
And you're talking $250,000, and we had no competitors.
Well,
Some
I
people
think it's
drop the
because
ball.
it's intimidating. Like, again, I had to Google what RFP was back then, and it's a request for proposal.
Yeah.
And then I see all these things, and I'm like, well, I got to fill this out. And oh crap, I got to have insurance. So
Yeah,
then I got
insurance,
insurance.
bond check, all that stuff,
Yeah.
and sometimes you're like, "Well, I gotta write a check," you know, how's this work?
So how do you make that process less intimidating? Just
I think you reach out to some like folks like myself or others that are in this industry that have gone through it,
okay.
and just ask the questions, and then go through your readings as a business owner. You would go through that, or a manager, sales manager, but then I would, if you had questions, you got to find somebody to give you the right answers,
I
because
think
you
that's
can't
huge.
just get stuck and then not go forward.
Yeah, and I didn't have that back in the day, so I was like, screw this. I'm gonna go sell a residential job tonight.
Well, and a lot of the government contracts are all RFPs, and then you got to go in and pay the service to be part of like their portal, their vendor portal, or something like that to be. So then that costs money, and unless you're willing to put that investment into, you're never going to get the job.
All right, so someone gets their RFP and like, crap, I don't know what to do. They can just call you. You'll help them fill that out.
We'll just walk through it. You got to read it by. A lot of times, there's a lot of stuff you don't need to read. You just got to get right to the grid of it and say, "Hey, can I do this or not as a service? Do you have the capability to do this job?" We don't. I don't want anybody going in thinking that I'm going to go do all these quotes for RFPs and then find out they don't have the personnel or the infrastructure to be able to handle that. That's one thing we got to. I want to evaluate, and because I think that's key.
What else? What
If
else?
they're willing to go further, they can. I mean, I think I'm not trying to say don't try. I want to make sure that they're reading it thoroughly to understand the scope of the work.
But you guys have had great success with these commercial projects.
Yeah, we do close to $1 million in commercial for lighting holiday.
And the
So
average size job is larger, I'm assuming.
yeah, there's some big jobs, but then there's just a bunch of property managers, just strip malls and outdoor malls, things like that. But it still comes down to time, and you just got to schedule a time, how many people you put to it. We got really good about scoping that, so you're not just having a bunch of bodies stand around or just not enough people on a job.
I'm assuming a lot of these you can get done earlier in the year as well, right?
Yeah, we start in September on a lot of them, or further or sooner. Some things you can, like even some of the ones downtown, we can start putting lights up in the trees start in August.
Okay.
And so there's, you can't just, then you still got a power crew that comes through and make sure everything's powered up properly. Then there's a test runs, and this is before you even present it to the property manager that's in charge of that project. So there's a lot of steps, but that's where the high communication goes in. When you can do it right, and you're high communication because you're confident in your work and you're confident in your team, then it's really just it's just like talking to a homeowner on your first job.
Are most of the commercial ones, are they like a multi-year contract?
A lot of them are, yeah. Like the one that we got a couple 6 years and 3 years. The 6 year one's great, because it's like there's even stipends that they'll add more product into it each year.
And then how do you maintain the relationship with either the HOA or if it's a property manager? I mean, we know relationships matter, but they still have their governing guidelines of like, we got to get 3 bids or whatever. How do you maintain that so that next year, that when the 3 years comes up, that you're able to land that again?
And I think that goes back, and I don't know where I heard this or someone told me this years ago. It says you got to touch your clients at least minimum 4 times a year. That could be different times of the year, not just, hey, we're getting ready to show up next week type thing. But if you stay in high communication and visibility with your brand, your company brand, I think that goes a long ways of making sure that you're relevant and you stay relevant inside their eyes. Because
Nice.
they're going to have turnover too. Because a lot of property managers they'll handle like 25 to 30 projects or buildings or something like that across their area. They could go on to another company. And we've seen that happen a lot. And then they just call and say, hey, I got some new buildings I need you to quote.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think most people are like, well, we talk once when it's time to do the project and when it's time to get paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think when you think about the permanent lighting, that's almost gets you another exposure of conversation with commercial. And that's what we started to do in the off season. It's like, hey, I know we do in Reese and Garland, but we ever thought about let's go permanent lighting on the roof line. and because that'll saves us time so we can go do other jobs.
Well, yeah, because you can do that in June or
I can do it in June, leave it up, and just maintain it, and then rock and roll. So, I think the biggest message about commercial is that I think there's a lot of companies that reach out to me for me to kind of teach them and the secret sauce, if you want to call it that. I think it still comes down to just good old common sense of just getting out there and being in front of people.
Love it, man. It's so crazy because it really is. I was talking in one of our group calls today, Inside Secrets, and it's like we have a strategy we teach about how to get more referral partners from your existing clients, and they were having some struggles with that. And I was like, at the end of the day, I mean, how many projects did you drive by in the last week that someone was building a pool, building a house, doing the landscaping, like, oh, all over the place? Like, how many did you stop at and talk to?
Yeah.
Like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to let my family starve. So again, like plan B is like, you got to go out there and get uncomfortable, go knock some doors.
Yeah. You talking about referrals, like in between other businesses to kind of correlate.
Yeah.
Like we've been big on not putting ourselves on an island as a company. And one of the things about that is that we want to be able to work with other lawn care companies, landscape companies, even lighting companies, because everybody will get overflow and we'll get overflow. So we need to be able to kind of move some things around. So then at the end, the client is taken care of.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick. I like Patrick. Patrick's a good dude.
Patrick Harder's in the house.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Patrick was leading our lighting design call earlier today. So
nice.
He's awesome, dude. Okay, well, I think we're done. You are going to do an offer for the Lighting for Profits listeners. Is that right?
So if anybody wants to reach out to me, obviously you can reach out to me at Mike. Just type in Mike Marlow Christmas. You'll find me on a lot of social pages. But then if you want to get a hold of me on my cell phone at 402-490-4895, or just email me at I'm probably going to get stalked a lot from that. That's man. I should have used a different number. Huh?
This is dangerous. Did you just give him my number?
Yeah.
Mike, stop.
Or it's just Marlow at Wintergreen Corp. So anybody contacts me between now and the end of this month, I'll get a coupon code out there for 15% off for anything you want to buy through Wintergreen. We do have Christmas in July coming up. We got some good specials, options for some free shipping. Nobody likes to pay for shipping. I'll tell you right now, you do pay for shipping, but I'm just going to say you get free shipping. I know I know you got a higher level intellect type group, so everybody knows that. So yeah,
like we'll do free shipping. So okay, well, reach out to Mike, guys, and I highly recommend following. Do you have a Facebook group still?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's still the professional, the one. I don't even remember the name anymore. I kind of changed. I should make it a little bit easier, but it's out there. It's one of the. It's more public. I don't really. Oh no, it's used private. I had to keep the spammer guys out of there, so I had to kind of close that down a little bit.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I would just say connect with Mike online. I know on Facebook.
I'll send you a link to it if you guys are involved.
Good content, good things, and stuff like that. So, Mike, I really appreciate you coming on here, man. Thanks for sharing the gold nuggets.
Thanks for the invite. It's always a pleasure, Ryan. I keep on doing what you're doing. I love it.
I appreciate that. It's a good reminder. I'm going to start making sure that I treat everyone like they're worth $100,000. I think that's probably my big takeaway for the day.
Yeah, I think you do it anyway. So I think that's natural.
$110,000. $200,000, $1 million. No, that's huge because honestly, like my daughter was saying yesterday, she's like, well, doesn't dad, she was talking about her friend and whatever. And then she's like, well, who's dad? Dad has a boss. And my wife's like, no, he's the boss. I'm like, no, I have a lot of bosses.
Yeah.
They're all my clients. They're the ones that pay the bills. So I gotta.
That's why I like making friends, because then if you're going to have good days and bad days, no matter what, every business has good days and bad days. And if you have a good friend as a client, you can have those bad days and still be a good friend. And then it'll get better, So that's just one thing.
Love it. All right, Mike, thanks for coming on, man. Always love connecting with you and sharing ideas. Appreciate you taking time to be on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, reach out to Mike right now. Like he said, he's giving you 15% off the rest of the month. Just mention Lighting for Profits, and he's going to hook you up.
Let's go.
And call him on his cell phone and text him and stuff.
Yeah, stalk me.
All right, see you guys.